Well, hello there. Isn't this a darling kerchief? They gave it to me at UPS to help defend from the Corona-chan. Makes me feel like a bandit. But it keeps on coming off my damn face. I'm probably going to order one online now they've started making these things mandatory. Guess everybody finally made up their mind about the masks, at least in terms of the corporate and government world. Anyway, I don't think science is that flimsy or political. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? What I'm going to do is I'm going to have myself a nice bit of scotch to celebrate finally getting the hang of the simple process of syncing audio in Premiere. It's the exact same as in Caden Live, but just, for some reason, I wasn't able to whittle down the clips the first time around. There's several different methods. There's manually doing it, there's synchronizing, and then there's merging. The synchronizing is what I normally kind of do in Caden Live, or Caden Live, however you say it, which is the open source Linuxy version. But it's exactly the same here. It's just for some reason, even though it was the exact same process, I couldn't get it to work. It was just dumbass user error with me not getting them short enough, or I don't know what it was. But I was also watching for plosives and things in waveform and kind of doing a hybridization. But really nerdy, not even nerdy, just stupid. Fucking inept me. Talk aside, let's continue about with some news stories that I sort of stumbled across earlier today. Had a damned fucking article that came to my attention from Pocket about the mafia delivering food in Italy. And it's from The Guardian. And I'll talk a bit about The Guardian also. But first, let's talk about this mafia business. So they're starting to deliver food because of the economic situation due to, Italy already having a strained economic situation. And then you have this corona quarantine going on. And so people aren't able to get food, and the government's not doing an adequate enough job. Of course, the mafia, as The Guardian points out, doesn't do anything for free. So when the economy picks back up, these folks will just, the ones that got food from the mob, will basically just owe them favors like, hiding fugitives or smuggling drugs or whatever. So good job putting everybody on lockdown there. And, those people are like, well, of course they had to do it in Italy. Did you see what was going on? Yeah, a lot of really old people were dying, and it's terrible, and it's sad, and should have closed the borders with China as soon as the word got out. But hey, they didn't do that, so there was that consequence. But then you had the compounded problem of just completely shutting down the economy and screwing everybody over. Now, I'm not Italian, and I don't claim to speak for Italian citizens, and I'm sure there's a large, sizable amount of decent folk who have valid reasons to disagree with me on this. But this is my stupid opinion show, so I'm going to give my stupid opinion. And, yeah. I mean, just that article from Ioannidis and Fauci having to say, hey, our estimates were kind of wrong in terms of what's going on here in the States. I don't think you can really implicate, oh, well, we did such a good job quarantining, that's why the outbreaks up. No, it's just that's the nature of the virus we're currently dealing with. The reason for that, the reason I'm saying that with the little bit of boldness that I am, is because the virus, the quarantine, it wasn't universal. So it was left to the state's discretions. So South Carolina has a much laxer quarantine than, say, Colorado, as was pointed out on Dr. Ron Paul's show. So if it's the case that the quarantine succeeded, the quarantine should not have had the same success rates in both states, even to the point where I think South Carolina has less of a problem with it. But again, there's all these factors going on, so exactly how you interpret the data one way or the other is very difficult to tell. And that's the thing. We're dealing with not enough information and taking drastic actions that cause the fucking mob to be taking over Italy. Even more. Yeah. Those are my 2 cents there. other article was from Foreign Policy, and it was from some kind of entrepreneurial guy out in California, I believe, who is advocating for commercial space flights and things, but he made the interesting point that in order to save the Earth, we have to go to space. That there's all these people that mean well, that say, oh, hey, we got to focus on the problems on Earth before we spend all these resources in going out into space. But going out into space helped us find out about the ozone layer problem, and also gives us a lot of meteorological data, etc. So, I'm not a big, worrywart about anthropogenic global warming. I have, I believe, a healthy degree of skepticism about the doomsday nature of what a lot of people claim in that regard, but I will say that the climate will change regardless of the origin, and it behooves us to pay attention to it. Also, there's the question of resources, and one really cool thing that they talked about in the article, which I recommend everybody read, is putting solar panels in space where they would always get that radiation, and then they could concentrate the radiation and pierce through clouds and send it down to stations. I'm not exactly how that would have worked. It sounds really wonky and weird, but I love considering these bigger kind of dreams and goals, because the realm of sci-fi does become reality. I mean, Jules Verne was writing about submarines and things, and lo and behold, we have these nuclear-class submarines, which might not be the Nautilus, but it's pretty damn close. Yeah, man. I'm going to keep this video fairly brief, because I'm still getting the hang of syncing the audio and doing all of that crazy jazz. But there was one more article that I read that for some reason I cannot recall the name of, or the subject matter of. Oh, I think it had to do with canned food. Yeah, so apparently, those little use-by dates, they're very, very arbitrary. They're just based on what the company thinks will be the freshest and best tasting that those particular items will be. And oftentimes, for instance, with eggs, it's like a week after they were laid that they were packed, and then the week after that the date was put on, or 2 weeks or even. So it's just crazy. So you can't really rely on the expiration date, which is, I don't want to go through another thing where I'm reading other people's articles. I mean, that's fine to do if I'm commenting on every paragraph, but I don't necessarily want to do that with these. I'll just link to them as kind of pointing you in the right direction and plug my damned Glenlivet so it doesn't lose its freshness, and now try to kind of improvise on a topic, because a lot of today has, of course, been chores, just making sure that the stupid bills are paid, that money is in the right accounts. It's annoying, and there's also all of these bureaucratic things, because I'm taking care of my grandfather's finances as well, and it's a pain in the friggin' butt, and I gotta go run to the pharmacy and buy him an extra handhold for the shower. I don't mind doing that. I enjoy taking care of him, and it's nice having people around and learning about, what's coming in terms of mortality and limited mobility for yourself as a life experience, outside of just extending the kind of close relationship you have with your family, which for me is very important, because my family is tiny. It's just basically him at this point. Sure, I have a mother out in Russia, but she is somewhat estranged, and I honestly have very little idea of how to get back in contact with her, though I probably will at some point. But man, yeah, don't take your family for granted, because I mean, there are really shitty family members out there, but yeah, I don't know. You know what I'm saying. Anyhow, let me just look at these books I have over here. So when the hell am I going to get to writing about water that I've been talking about? I don't know. It's just very hard to find an angle to come at this from. I have a little bit of an introduction to the book that I had planned written up on my website, but I need to find a niche, because with these books, these long form journalism books that these folks like Alex Perdome do, they focus on specific issues, I think, generally. For instance, one of them does a thing about dams, the other about rivers. Alex Perdome's is more general in nature, but it has a lot to do, I think, with pollution more than anything else, and maybe with like drought. So yeah, it is a general. I could write a generalist account, but it's already been done so well, and I don't think I have the resources to devote to writing a generalist account of the water problems. So my thing is to find a way to make the information interesting, to bring semi-novel information about what's going on with the water issue. And it's one of those things where I've set the goal for myself to do, and I'm very tenacious in this because I still have my Java book over there. And even though Java is not really a language that I would use for anything that I'm doing, probably there's languages better suited to the use cases that I want to make programs with. Because that was the first language I said I was going to learn. That was the first language I became aware of that everybody was pushing at the time that I was looking at computer stuff back in like 2008 or so, or actually earlier than that, like 2006-ish. And yeah, I'm still going to fucking learn the damn thing. And I'm still going to write this book. It's just, I got to read and keep the information in my mind and have better notes and things. And hopefully this little ramble has been cathartic for people who are trying to put together a nonfiction book, which you would think would be easier to write than a fiction book from a lot of the guides and things out there. So it's always easier to write a nonfiction book. I don't know, because there's all this trepidation for me to get facts right and not let my biases get in the way. And not only that, but to figure out, weed people's biases out of the information that I'm getting. It's a whole clusterfuck. Oh. Yeah, and so, furthermore, here's Bertrand Russell's The History of Western Philosophy. I need to get back into reading about this. I think what I'm going to do is, up there I have this Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday schedule that I had already kind of posted online with an announcement of what I was going to do. But because I had started on, hey, I'm going to go through this history of Western philosophy because philosophy is important. Yeah, I'm going to do the TFS this show, and then every other day or so, kind of read sections of this book, varying length, obviously, because depending on my duties of the day, I'm going to have, a varied amount of focus and attention and length that I can read through. But I'm gonna be uploading that. Yeah, that sounds like a good plan. And that way I'm not just randomly babbling, and I have kind of a direction, and I can, as I'm creating content that I'm hoping will become better, I can also build my knowledge base and be less of a noob. Yeah. So I guess this is more of just kind of an odds and ends, little bit of trivia at the beginning about various news topics, and then where I'm going to be taking this stupid show. Thanks so much for listening, and take good care, everybody. Don't get your food from the mob, unless you absolutely have to, I guess. I mean, I'm not going to judge people.